Get ready for change to elevate your future, your thinking, your life. One relationship, one thought, one decision. You're closer than you think you are. Make a decision and decide where to be inspired. Good afternoon. It's Randy Byrd with Like a Boss podcast.
Well, I'm definitely as vibrant, missing a little bit of hair, but other than that, it's pretty
That's
much
it.
the same guy.
Yeah, both of us.
Yeah.
But great to see you, John. I really appreciate you being here, and I'm excited to give people some updates of what you've been up to, and really talk about the journey you're on, really changing the world, in my opinion, in relationship. And now you've partnered with your beautiful daughter, Lauren, and I'm excited to dive into that kind of stuff. But real quick, let me just start this way. Dr. John Gray, written over 20 books, the most recent being Beyond Mars and Venus. If you remember, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I've said that like my whole life now, it feels like, for 20 years. I'm like, it's because you're from Venus. I'm from Mars. And so that's really been a staple in my language and understanding. But Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus was the #1 book of the 90s, literally. Translated into 45 languages in over 100 countries and growing. I remember this, John, the mission: I'm here to help men and women create strong, passionate bonds that last a lifetime. I remember you saying that.
Wow.
I remember being part of one of your relationship classes and being able to watch you from the front of the room. Really, really special. And, I really want to say thank you for being here on Like a Boss podcast. This podcast is dedicated to entrepreneur-minded, business-minded, relationship-minded, digging into the weeds, emotionally and spiritually. And to me, that is entrepreneurship. It's really finding out who you are as you grow as a human being. I don't know why we have to figure it out in our 50s, and I'm going to be 60 in 17, 18 days. Why the hell do we have to figure this out now, John? That's what I'd like to know. Why couldn't I have this cookie in the 20s or 30s? And all I could do now is
I think, I have a great answer for that. We have to make mistakes to feel the draw towards the divine. Okay. It's like, you repent means that I realize I made a mistake and I'm committed to making the change. It's that process of committing to making the change that's personal growth. And hey, life is about growth. So life is about continuing to learn, continuing to make mistakes. It's just, the hard part of it is we beat ourselves up, or a lot of people do it, particularly when you're younger. Oh, why haven't I got that down? And why isn't my life perfect yet? And why is it this? Until you can kind of look back a bit and realize that it's always a process of growth. And growth means change in a positive direction. And we get bumped up around by life, but then you become more compassionate towards others. You become more tolerant of others. You become more fluid in your life, and you access more creativity, because the more we can be in the flow of life, more creative, more productive we can be.
So true. And, there's a lot of great books I love. 3 Feet from Gold was something that really, it came from a place of inspiration for me through Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill. And, one of my favorite authors, along with you and Jack Canfield and some others. I've read that book probably 9 times. It's my go-to, I call it my business Bible. It's the entrepreneur Bible for me, but it's absolutely true. That law of attraction, that vibrational energy, and we get in that flow state, and the flow state's a powerful place to be. And then you enter relationships, and you're talking to an alien species sometimes. And so that's what I want to hear from you.
When you're dealing with an intimate relationship, what gets triggered? See, part of our growth, besides learning from mistakes and growing, another part of our growth as men is to integrate the feminine qualities into our life without losing the masculine side of us. And for women, the ability to stay feminine as they express their masculine side. And when you're in a polarity relationship of a man and a woman, that's going to be your biggest challenge. And it's also going to be a very powerful way for you to find balance within yourself. I don't say it's the only way, but it's the way that I've seen. It's very powerful and it's challenging. Okay. So, women, part of our female side, Randy, is our emotions. And why I can say that, some people go, well, why are you calling emotions female side? Well, it turns out that women biologically need to make 10 times more estrogen than a man. And typically, if they're happy, they do. And if they're in a romantic relationship, to be in the mood for romance, her estrogen levels have to double. So that's 20 times higher than a man's estrogen levels. So all emotions get produced with a surge or coexist with a surge of estrogen. The mind looks at something, the body responds, and the connection between the mind and the body is emotion. So we know that if you don't have any estrogen in your body, you can't have any emotions. If you have too much estrogen in your body for your biology, then it'd be a man. If you have too much estrogen for your biology, or a woman, you can have too much of anything. For a woman, she'll have anxiety and weakness if she has too much estrogen at the wrong time of the month. But for a man, he either has fight or flight. He wants to fight, or he wants to run away, or he wants to procrastinate. These are all symptoms of when a man's estrogen is too high for what men typically need to be healthy. When a man is healthy and feeling good and motivated, he's a leader, has integrity, he follows through, he's an example for others. Just having that status will make a man's testosterone 10 times higher than a woman's. And then if he can then be in a relationship with a woman who loves him, who looks up to him as an amazing guy, in her presence, his testosterone can double. And that's called romance. Okay. So this is real biology. That's in the later books. I got into all the biology because people kept thinking that men and women are the same, and we are not. We're like different planets. But here's the rub. As women become more independent, they become like men and less like women. And to the extent less like women, what I mean is their hormones, their female hormones are way out of whack. And we know now that, medicine is trying to correct this with giving women hormones. But that doesn't correct it. It's the mind state. It's the mind state that gets produced when you're in relationship. Relationship stimulates estrogen. Independence stimulates testosterone. Selflessness stimulates testosterone. So think of the soldier going into battle. His testosterone levels are off the chart because he's willing to give up his life. Right. You see that the man who kneels before the woman as time of proposal, I'm willing to prioritize you above all others. I kneel before you. That's the most romantic moment for a woman. And what that is for a man is huge testosterone levels get produced, because for her, huge estrogen gets produced. Like, oh my gosh, finally, I don't have to live a life alone. I don't have to do it all myself. And why is that such a stress for women? Is that when you feel I have to do it alone, you primarily make male hormones, testosterone. And when a woman's primarily making testosterone, her stress levels will always be higher. You can measure whenever a woman's producing stress hormones, her male hormones are dominating her female hormones, or it could be that she has no male hormones and all she has is estrogen. That would also be a stress state for women. So either these imbalanced states is what causes our stress levels, or coexists with elevated core stress levels. So women today, at a certain point, they want to be more independent. That's great, as long as they can maintain that sense of relationship where they're not doing everything themselves. And for men, if we don't have the role models, like you're a role model, Coach Randy, you bring in people to be an inspiration to a man. I watch YouTube a lot these days. After the shutdown, I started watching YouTube. It's a bit of an addiction, but it's wonderful. I only watch people who are an inspiration to me, to hear them talk. And now I'm going back to books. I got into the videos. I realized that it's even more powerful when I'm reading the words of someone who has accomplished or achieved something in fulfilling their goals. That's very inspiring to me as a man, because we can only become what we see. This is very, very interesting. How do I become something if I can't see it? And when you're talking about the law of attraction, you have to be able to imagine it. Well, being able to talk to somebody, resonate with somebody who's been where you want to be, not exactly for you, but they've been where you want to be. That gives your mind, it goes, okay, what do I have to do that? It pulls in the resources to do it. That's called role model. And part of the challenge today is that 60% of boys and girls are growing up without a father in the home. So when a girl grows up without a father in the home, she doesn't know what benefit you can get from a man. A little boy doesn't know what benefit he can provide for others. So there's this big blank. And if you don't have clarity about what you're looking for, you can't manifest it.
So true. And we're moving into, and we have been moving into, it seems, a world that the women are taking on much more masculine roles, both in employment, both in, being equals and everything. I could see how that throws this out of balance if you're really not attentive to what's going on biologically, like you said.
Yeah, well, I think that they've done research on this. I mean, now I have data to back it up. Before, in the 90s, I'm just giving my personal experience and my observations, which when people were in intimate relationships, they would go, yeah, I can relate to that completely, but when people aren't in relationships, they tend to be more on their male side because you're independent. Anytime you're independent, you make male hormones. Whenever you're dependent for something meaningful, and I'm not being overly dependent, needy, and all that. I mean, when I eat a meal, I'm dependent on food. If I want to get my message out, I'm dependent on you, Randy. So dependence is a very important part of life. That's the whole point of relationship. Is to provide for, to help. Yeah, right. So one is you've got the helper, that would be our male side, and then you've got the person who needs help. That's the female side. Doesn't mean weakness. It means, okay, what can you do for me? I often even describe power because, we all this about empowerment of women. Yes, we want to empower women to be like men. Well, it's good to empower your male side, no question about it. I think it's a part of an advancement of consciousness to have both the male and female sides. But the male power is the power to accomplish, to achieve, to do. The female power is the power to have others do for you. That's the law of attraction. The law of attraction doesn't create success. It creates opportunities for you to achieve success. So you draw into yourself the support you need. And then it's your thinking, which is, a lot of think and grow rich. It's what you think and follow through on through action that will achieve your goals. But I could be working all day long, but if I don't have opportunities, I'm not going to succeed. So you want to put the male side and the female power together, and our relationships are a powerful way to develop that, because then you're actually, and what are women dependent on men for? So this is the big challenge for women. If we look at data, what we'll see is that women, educated women, that means they went to college, who don't have children at 50, if you have a college degree, your chances of being alone and without children are 50%. Okay, half the women who've gone to college at 50 do not have children and not married, and they'll live the rest of their life alone.
Wow. Is that because they moved into an independent, role, basically?
Yeah. When you're in an independent role, you what you'll find is that you're not feeling men are good enough for you. You won't be attracted to men.
Or there's not an addition to what you have already. It's not a
you don't need a man, and men are not attracted to women who don't need us. Okay. So if a woman has less money than us and wants more money, well, that's great. That becomes a bond. Okay, I can provide something for you of meaning. But once a woman can make money, what does she need a man for? And that's part of what I'm trying to educate people. Well, once you can make money and you're a woman, what you need is emotional support. You need a new kind of emotional support. And that emotional support helps you come back to make more estrogen. Wow. A man doing things for you will make more estrogen. Wow. And what we're looking at is all these women who have menopausal problems, and most of the divorce is either happening at 28 years old or between 45 and 50, because that's when women are going through menopause. They don't have enough estrogen to feel I love my partner. Love allows you to tolerate imperfection. Okay. But if you don't have love, your brain just focuses on what I'm not getting. And it sort of becomes a snowball of not enough, not enough. And when you're in a relationship with a man and you give the message of not enough, not enough, he doesn't have the energy to give more. Relationships are reciprocal. When I come home and my wife is happy to see me, it gives me energy to give to her. If she's not happy to see me, then it's like going to a job where they don't pay you. You just have no energy. Men are very much energy dependent on the hormone testosterone. And we need to make 10 times more than women need to make in order for well-being to occur. So women have a greater requirement for relationships that stimulate estrogen, and men have a greater requirement to be independent in doing things that raise testosterone. Mm-hmm. And when they don't know how to do that, when nobody's giving them direction on how to do that, a man's testosterone will stay rather low and his estrogen levels will go high. And whenever a man's estrogen levels are high, he's in fight or flight. He's grumpy, he's irritable, totally. He can become angry, he can feel like a victim, he can withdraw, and he can procrastinate. Procrastination is a big, big thing, or feeling anxiety. This is happening a lot more to men than ever before. And it's because we live in a culture to a certain extent that doesn't teach men how to be men, shames men for being masculine. For example, I want to give people examples other than all the bad press men are getting all the time. Okay, we know that's going on, but it's more practical on a down-to-earth level. Aspects of psychology have ruined men in that they treat men like the women that come in for counseling. So I don't want to diss them because, all of your psychologists who write all the books, who do everything, who do they learn from? They learn from women. 95% of the people who come into therapists are women. So we just assume that the techniques of talking about your feelings, sharing your feelings, that's going to be this beneficial thing. But when men talk about their feelings, it makes estrogen. That's why it's so good for women. Just talking about what you're feeling inside without trying to solve a problem produces estrogen. And translation, complaining. Women get addicted to complaining because it can produce temporary estrogen. Now men, on the other hand, men can do porn, and porn will give you a temporary dose of testosterone, just like complaining will give you a temporary dose of estrogen. But afterwards, it crashes right back down. And so what we got is a society of males addicted to porn, cocaine, any dopamine stimulators, alcohol. All these addictions are to replace the bad feelings a man has when he doesn't have testosterone production. Mm-hmm. And what he needs for produce testosterone is he needs mentors. He needs to have a clear direction of where he's going. He needs to experience making a difference. There's so many boys, 4 times as many males will commit suicide than females. And when you commit suicide, when you feel inadequate and you feel like, what's the purpose? I make things worse, or I can't. It's just a empty existence. And what's the point of it all? What am I here for? And what's interesting, if you just hang out with a male who is making a difference and you help that person, or you become more like that person, you get a job, basically. You get a job. And then at a certain point, making money is depressing because that will only take your testosterone so high. Then you have to selflessly give to someone who depends on you. Mm-hmm. And so women today don't depend on men. So if you can't find a woman who can depend on you because she doesn't know what she depends on you for. So women today they're starting to wake up, and many are reading my books, which is explaining that what you need a man. Why do you need a man? You need a man so that you don't have to go home alone. You have backup. You have security. It doesn't even matter if you learn karate or whatever. You still need to have somebody present with you. So there's this feeling of I'm alone. I don't have support. And maybe you can live with some women and whatever, so you can have that satisfied, a certain level of security. But there's a place where men, if they're masculine, don't get upset about things. Mm. You see, men have a groundedness if they're in their masculine side, which is not to worry a lot, which is not to get angry a lot, not to cry a lot, not to feel overwhelmed a lot. And, I had 3 daughters and a wife, and I would travel 3 days away teaching my classes and come back. All the kids were so glad dad's home because there's just this overwhelm that starts happening when women get together, because you have to have the balancing factor.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The same thing when men, if you look at men in jail, they become very dysfunctional. Already they were dysfunctional as well, men in gangs and so forth. There's a certain need that men have to be together, but it has to be balanced by being around females. It takes a man and a woman to make a baby. It takes a man and a woman to raise a child. I'm really against this phrase of this communistic phrase of it takes a village to raise our children. This is just the wrong direction. It doesn't take a village. It takes a village to support a man and a woman to raise a child. That's what it takes. It takes a man and a woman to make a baby. It takes a man and a woman to raise a child. That child needs to see a father serving the mother adoring that man and appreciating him and loving him, feeling that he makes a difference in my life. So this is absent in our society. Is it going downhill? No, we have examples of it. More and more people are becoming examples of. So many women I hear are giving up, just being the corporate woman. She can be the corporate woman at work, and she's learning to come home. And I'm just quoting these women, and I'm making dinner, and I'm taking care of the kids, and I'm taking days off. I'm creating a life where I can have a family and be working. So this is a time of balancing. Over the last 10 years, you hear in the workplace all about work-life balance.
Yeah.
Well, for women to find that balance, it's very important for them to be educated, the importance of sharing feelings and using a man to hear those feelings and learning how to communicate your feelings to a man in a way where he can hear them. If what your feelings are just complaints about me, count me out. But you've got so much stress going on in other areas of your life. If you can talk about that and use your husband as kind of your therapist, your sounding board, now he has a role. And it's not like he has to be a therapist, but it's a little bit like a good therapist will do when a woman comes in the office. Tell me about what's going on. What's your frustrations? What are your disappointments? What are your worries and concerns? And with me as a therapist, they, of course, can share anything about their spouse, but you can't do that with your spouse. You can't criticize someone. If I criticize my wife, she'll shut down. If I get angry at my wife, she'll shut down. So that's where therapy can be very helpful. And again, even therapists don't understand this, many, which is if you sit and listen to a woman complain about her husband without teaching her at the end of the complaints how she's equally a part of the problem. Right. So everybody wants equality, but they never want to look at equality where there's a problem, how two people are contributing to that problem. And then when you see that, then when you give her a solution, a new plan of action, a behavioral change she can make, that she can make, now you've got real success with couples, which is what I get, what my books help women do. And so Men Are From Mars was so helpful for people at that time where men were mostly masculine and women were mostly feminine. But today, and not in every relationship, but so much of the time, women are on their masculine side. So it's a whole book to help women go, okay, what can I use a man for to come back to my female side?
So good. And, Kirsty, my wife, we work together. So I have, she calls it my office voice, right? I'm in my masculine, I'm running a business, I'm the boss, and I'm running down that path. And then there's times where she needs me to be the spouse, listen to her stories, listen to whatever she's got going on. And I don't try to trivialize it. I'm in a mode, right? And I understand it and I recognize it. So we've had to set boundaries of when we're going to transfer from this to that conversation, or at the end of the day, when we see each other, having that healthy kind of that 15-minute buffer period that we get to kind of unwind those roles and get into a loving, listening role, right? Instead of me responding like I would be as a CEO all day.
That's right. We're not here just to solve problems. As a CEO, you solve problems. Time is money, efficiency. Let's get to the point. Let's get it done. This is not a therapy session. This is not,
she's like, don't fix me. I wasn't asking to be fixed. I'm like, I thought you did have to be fixed. That's what I heard.
Well, so
good.
It's good for women to know which mode they want to be in. Are you in a problem-solving mode? Are you in a sharing mode? And to be able to say to your spouse, I just want to talk about my feelings, and I don't want you to say anything. I don't want you to fix anything. Now, Men Are From Mars, I told men, just don't fix it. But it didn't always work because men would forget. So then I started teaching women, just remind him, you're the one who has a need. I'm the one who's hungry. So let me tell you what I like for dinner. I just want to talk about what's going on inside of me. You don't have to say anything. But then I take it a step further. There's a concept in psychology, which, by the way, I was just talking about one concept in psychology that's not good, which is that when men are stressed, they should talk about their feelings. When a man's heart is broken, he should talk about his feelings. Mm-hmm. But if he's having stressful problems, then he should only talk to solve those problems, or to think about those problems, or to temporarily forget those problems. It's such a, she just, because she doesn't know men are different, she's going to go in, well, tell me what you're feeling and what's the problem, and what could happen then, and what could happen then, and maybe you could try this. She'll just go right into problem solving as well. She has a male side and will just come right out, but they'll be investigating and tell me more. It's terrible for men to talk about a problem unless they're talking about that problem to somebody they need their help from. So if I need you to help me figure this out, here's the problem. You're the expert. Help me figure it out. That's one. Or I'm going to talk about the problem because I'm in the process of solving the problem. Mm. When a man is passively talking about a problem, which is stressing him out, his stress will only go higher. So, this is hard for women to hear because they go, no, I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on. And he can let her know what's going on when he's feeling good, when he's feeling confident. And if he's upset with her, he shouldn't talk about it either. Whenever men talk and they're emotional, what happens is their emotions just increase, because talking about emotions, talking when you're emotional, only raises estrogen, lowers testosterone in men. So it's the worst thing that couples do is when a man is kind of stressed, he'll withdraw inside himself. He just he's thinking about it. He's not feeling, he's literally just thinking about it. And he doesn't really clear about, okay, what do I need to talk about it for? I'm thinking about it. And she'll say, well, what is it? What's going on inside of you? She panics because you're no longer on the right side of your brain where there's emotions. You're more on the left side of your brain where you're analyzing. And for her, that's an unusual experience because, see, women have way more connective tissue between the left and right hemispheres of the brain. They can always be on the left and the right hemispheres of the brain simultaneously. Whereas for men, most of us, and clearly most of us, if we're thinking about something, we're not experiencing emotion. That's right. And that's also biologically proven, is that when a man is experiencing moderate stress, his blood flow stops to the emotional part of the brain. We become unemotional. Women only become unemotional if they're so angry with you that they've shut down. So when a man detaches, she can assume something bad is happening. He doesn't love me. He doesn't like me. He's mad at me. Why is he mad at me? And they can keep asking questions until you do get mad at them. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I knew it. I knew
it was right all along. Oh, I love this. So the way you explain it, John, is just it makes sense. It's like bringing this large bubble of trying to understand it to a way of communication that makes sense, at least for me. And I think I've been a self-improvement junkie for years, and I really focus on that. But it really is a challenge when we're coming from a place of different planets, like you said, when
what's good
communication is completely different for us.
Right. The hormones that are good for her aren't necessarily good for us as much. Right. So you have to find the right balance. And I know I just landed on a power keg there, which is so many times when men don't want to talk about something, women are just like banging on the door and they don't understand. That just interrupts his process. But at the same time, she's triggered because she doesn't understand that until she learns it. And so what can she do at those times? So finding solutions for these things is very important. All she has to say to feel reassurance inside is to simply say, so you're thinking about it, right? And he'll immediately go, yes. And that it'll be a complete yes. Whenever a man says yes, you feel like, okay, we're connected. So you just have to say, oh, you just need some time to think about it. Yes.
So good.
And it's just, and that's all you have to do. Then
I can feel it when you say it. I can feel the response of acknowledgement when you say the words.
Right. It's all in the words. and there's so many other skills for the women, for the men that are listening, the women are listening. My work these days is biohacks through the relationship, not biohacks by taking pills. Although I'm not against that, but taking hormones. So many men, their testosterone levels are low. Biohack, by the way, for that, the number one biohack for building your testosterone is don't talk about your feelings and don't have sex with yourself. Just stop that.
Really?
Okay. Those are the major biohacks. And the other one is get rid of your belly fat. For younger men, they don't have it yet, but for us older guys, that estrogen it's natural for our estrogen levels to increase as we get older, but you don't have to lower your testosterone. Mine at 73 are 50% higher than when I was a young man.
Wow.
And that's what I do, the biohacks. And one is, I was just at the bank today and I was telling the woman, I just did my program. In the last 2 weeks, I lost 10 pounds. And she goes, John, you do not need to lose weight. I said, it doesn't look like that. But when I relax my belly, it comes out.
Right.
And
I'm sucking it in.
Every man, but you have to know is when you relax your belly and it comes out, that's belly fat. And that belly fat has one job, make more estrogen. Then when your body makes more estrogen, it puts on more belly fat. So you can go to the gym and you can see these guys, they're 50 years old, they're gym guys, and they've got belly fat. They cannot get rid of it. And they'll say it's all muscle, but behind the muscle is this fat that's not healthy for them. And the number one risk factor for heart disease for men is belly fat. Now, turn that around. What they don't say is when you have belly fat, your testosterone levels are dramatically lower. I was just talking with one man. He showed me how muscular he is and everything. I said, test your testosterone. And it was 200. And for his size body, it should be around 1,000 or 900. It's according to your size of your body to keep your muscles going. And over exercising can lower your testosterone as well. I've seen this many times. As a matter of fact, that was one of my first realizations studying how men and women were different long before the internet. We had muscle magazines. So I went in, learn how to build muscle and all that, masculinity and so forth. And in all the magazines, there are all these libido pills. I'm 30 years old thinking, what man needs the libido pill? But so later on, I discovered that if you over exercise, then when you're recovering, your body uses up your testosterone to rebuild your muscles and it ends up being low. So you don't want to over exercise. You don't want to, of course, having sex with yourself is going to lower your testosterone, having sex with porn and so forth. The other one is addictions. All addictions will lower your testosterone levels because in an addiction, what you're doing is you're depending on something outside yourself to make you happy. Okay, that's estrogen is produced when you're depending on someone outside yourself to make you happy. That's why, marriage can be so great because you do depend on your wife to make you happy. Every man gets with a woman because it feels really good when a woman says you're amazing, right? So you're depending on her. So you have to go into the marriage having your own job, your own life, your own high testosterone levels, so that you have a way to contain your testosterone at a high level, because being with her is always going to raise your estrogen. And if you look again, people say, where do you get these ideas, John? Well, first of all, I observe it all. I've been doing this for 50 years, but then I find the research to back it up.
Right.
What we know now is on average, now these are averages. I'm not your average guy because I understand this, but I have an average male biology. There's nothing special about my biology at all. And the research shows that the men with the highest testosterone in each age category. Now, remember, this is studies of millions of men who all go to the doctors. They have computers. And so at every age category, on average, testosterone goes down 1% every year. So you got, a 30-year-old at 40 years old, it's gone down 10%. Then it goes down another 10%, goes down. Okay. So you've got these average drops in testosterone according to the male lifestyle today, averages. Now, keep in mind that a 20-year-old today has 20% less testosterone than just 20 years ago. Okay, so that's another. I think the big influence there is one of the big influences how much porn they're doing without a doubt. Oh,
just the advent of social media and accessibility to it. And is that what you think?
Yeah. You can just go online and put in free porn, and
Anything you want.
86,000 women are all ready to have sex with you. Your subconscious mind thinks that. And one of the biggest boosters of testosterone in man is a woman that wants to have sex with you. That's why, when women are dressing in a way that looks like they want to have sex with you, your mind goes there. It's just
like false testosterone. Like they're getting that feeling of it, but it's not actually being built.
No, it does. You get a surge. You get a surge of testosterone.
Okay, I see.
But then it crashes down again right afterwards.
Oh, gotcha.
If you look at we look at the primitive brain, we can kind of compare it to animals because it's unconscious.
Yeah.
In a monkey tribe, there's the alpha male. He has twice as much testosterone as all the other monkeys. Twice as much. He's the king, and all the women basically want to have sex with him, and he'll kill you if you have sex with the females. So in some tribes, that's how it works.
Right.
When he dies, one of the other beta monkeys, the day he becomes alpha, he's now king. Being king, his testosterone levels double.
No kidding.
That's called status. So your status can raise your testosterone. Now, that's because all the females now want to have sex with you. It's a scent you put out, and the females want to have sex with you. So when a man has a wife who wants to have sex with him, his status monkey brain goes, I'm king, but you're sleeping with her, you're staying with her, it stays up. Now, when you have a porn, your brain goes, oh, all these women want to have sex with me. My testosterone will go up. Just seeing all these people wanting to have sex with me. Then afterwards, it goes back down and there's no reality to it. See, it's not like you're sleeping the rest of the night with somebody waking up with them who thinks you're the greatest. Right. So sex is very, very important for men to keep their testosterone levels up. Married men stop having sex a lot. And some men in the beginning have too much sex. Too much sex also will lower your testosterone. There's research on that. Let me do two studies I was just mentioning. One was we'll come back to the too much sex. I'm sure you remember that one. But the other study I didn't follow up on was, so they do this 1% down every year for men on average. Now, not every man fits that, but these are averages. In the category, let's say a 40-year-old man, in that group, who has the highest testosterone of that 40-year-old group? Single men. Who has the next highest? So it goes drops. Is there in a committed relationship with a woman? Next, married men. Next, men with children. And next, grandparents. Okay, well, you wouldn't be grandparents at 40. But the bottom line there is that you kind of go, why would that be? Because when men have love in their lives, okay, when you have love, that's estrogen. And estrogen lowers testosterone. Okay, so they balance. It's like a seesaw. Right. And so think about, like, as a grandfather, I just yesterday spent 4 hours with my granddaughter. She's a year and a half, that one of them, that's fifth one. And so I'm making huge amounts of estrogen, all love and safety, no risk, no danger, not just hanging out with my kids, my daughter. I have so much estrogen, I have to come home and take a big nap. Okay. Oh my God, my testosterone's going way down.
Recharge.
Yeah. But so let's say I'm having interviews. I have 6 clients today and a few interviews. I have my work, my testosterone's off the chart. Then I will come home and I'll take have my meditation to rest, to rebuild my testosterone. Because you make it, you run out of it as well as you're using it up. So this is the idea of men in their caves. But anyway, coming back to this big study, what they found is the single men, these are men who are more independent, who have less estrogen, will have higher testosterone levels. Married men will have less testosterone levels. And the next thing is married men who are having a lot of sex in the beginning. Well, there's another research study that shows that when you have sex with your wife on Saturday night and then do it again on Tuesday night. So you have sex, your testosterone goes down to baseline. Baseline is what goes down over the years for most men.
Okay.
And then, so on Tuesday, you have sex again with your wife, you go back down to baseline. On Saturday, you have sex with your wife from baseline, and it keeps going back down to baseline every time. If you have sex with your wife on Saturday night, but not on Tuesday night, and go 6 days abstinence from sex, on the 7th day, your testosterone levels increase 50%.
Wow. And then they don't come all the way down to baseline again, or do they go back to
no,
baseline?
it will go down to baseline.
Okay, it goes back to baseline, but you're increasing throughout the week.
And not only are you increasing throughout the week, but when you have sex with your wife on Saturday night, your testosterone levels are 50% higher, which is what they were when you fell in love. See, women want to feel that same desire inside of a man, a desire that's not demanding. It's like you have something that's really good. You want to take time to enjoy it. You have to have a lot of testosterone to be patient.
Gotcha.
When testosterone goes down, you're impatient, you're addicted. You have to have it now. So, there's that first time not every man, but many men know that you just want to go slow. The whole thing feels so good. It's so amazing. That's all a symptom of high testosterone and the estrogen of love. Wow. So now what you have is you have the love, but you don't have the high testosterone because it has to increase as you get older. Now that's why one of the reasons, there's other reasons why a man will lose interest in his wife sexually, which is what's happening today. And women lose interest in their husbands sexually. This has always been the case because men did not have the skills to amplify the woman's estrogen levels. When a woman depends on a man to raise her estrogen to a higher level, she will experience romantic feelings. That's also backed up in biology and studies. They show that when a woman's estrogen approaches twice as high as normal, then she feels, I desire sex. So that's the whole idea of why we have foreplay, and skillful foreplay and emotional foreplay is what I teach, which is the emotional foreplay, which allows a woman's estrogen levels to double at any time of the month. Okay, so she can be having sex almost every day. And of course, if he's having too much sex, he will become depleted. But here's the thing is as he's married, there's another benefit of being married in a monogamous relationship. Only if you're in a monogamous relationship committed to your partner, and they only find this in married couples, is that when a man has his climax, his body makes a hormone called prolactin. If he's having sex with himself, with porn, with a stranger, a new woman in the beginning, what happens is your body doesn't make prolactin. Well, what is prolactin? Prolactin is the hormone that inhibits sexual addiction. To a certain extent, God gave us all this addiction to have sex to make sure that we would have babies. But once you find a woman to have a baby with, it gives you prolactin that causes you not to be that interested in sex. And you'll only be interested in sex if she's interested in sex. So this is the dynamic of how to keep passion for a lifetime.
Wow.
Is you need to have prolactin, which keeps a man from pushing himself to have sex. But at the same time, she wants to have sex. And why does she want to have sex? Because there's something called polarity. Polarity is that if a man is more masculine and a woman is more feminine, and by that I don't mean she could be a tough woman in the workplace, but she's making estrogen when she comes home, when she gets in bed and she gets naked with you and you're kissing her and loving her and nurturing her, making love, which is an art, that raises her estrogen up. And when her estrogen goes up, then his sexual attraction dramatically increases. But as you get older, or the length of a relationship, a man's interest in his wife is rekindled every time it's rekindled in her. And what rekindles it in her is polarity, whereas his male hormones are much higher than hers, and her female hormones are much higher than his. And now you have every night you could be making love because of the polarity, as opposed to what you were doing before, which is you didn't have that polarity. You just had the newness. See, newness is sort of a drug, the beginning of a relationship. And that can last for many years, but it will go away if familiarity sets in. Distance is another thing I think really kept my marriage, the attraction strong, is because I had a job. And this is what you have to be challenged with if you're working with your wife every day.
Yes.
Men need that distance. They need to go fishing. They need to go out with the guys. They need to go on a plane. They need to go do their work somewhere else.
Right.
So they have a separate life. And then they miss her. The biology misses her. So
totally true.
To go, as opposed to just feeling one. If you're just feeling one, there's no attraction. Attraction happens when there's distance or when there's polarity of the male side, the female side.
And that's a big thing for me. I notice if I go away for a day or two, I miss her like it's been a month. I'm more lovey. I'm texting like
Yes,
little
yeah.
heart emojis. Being away, it just makes I looked at it like it's just me missing her, but there is chemistry behind it.
Oh,
There's
there's biology in it.
biology behind it.
Being in the presence of a woman raises estrogen inside of
Wow.
you if you care about her.
So
So
good.
an estrogen is they're opposite forces. If estrogen goes up, testosterone tends to go down unless something's amping up your testosterone, which
Yeah.
is with a woman, with my wife, it would be her appreciation, her depending upon me, her trusting me, her accepting me the way I am. These are the qualities a woman can give to a man, as opposed to worrying about him, trying to change him, competing with him, complaining to him. Those things just push testosterone down. So it's not that anybody's ever going to be perfect at this, but to be aware of where our mistakes are being made. Every time a woman complains, she's knocking down her husband's testosterone.
Wow.
And if she's not complaining out loud and she's secretly complaining, it knocks it down even more. Because at least verbally, he can defend against it. But if it's a tone of voice, it's a look, it's a way of reacting. It's, like trust is, we have people that come to us. You're a coach. People feed your soul by needing your help. They trust you. People trust me. It just feeds my soul. Yes. When your wife doesn't trust you, let's say, honey, would you help me with this? And she doesn't even ask because she thinks she'll bother you or you won't want to do it or you don't want to care. She doesn't realize she's putting out a message of mistrust. Mm-hmm. So, and then she gets back into the place of, I have to do it myself. All these women who are feeling overwhelmed, they don't have someone they can trust to help them. Wow. And it's simply just an attitude of feeling I have help all the time. So here's another biohack.
So good.
I have so many, but here's one that for you could do in your marriage, for example, with your wife. It's wonderful. Just say, honey, this is something that will help boost up your estrogen levels and make you happier. And I'm happy to do it because it will make you happier. Every day at some point, I want you just to put 5 fingers up in the air. Now that's a signal that says, I'm going to ask you to do something that will take less than 5 minutes. Mm. And it's something that I could do for myself. But because you're going to be happy to do it right away, I don't have to do it myself. And so she has to be looking now for ways to stop doing everything herself. It might just be where you take the clothes out of the dryer.
Wow.
It could be, would you record this show for me? Would you make me a cup of tea? You have to even start, for women, they have to start thinking of things I could ask him to do for me that would be nice. And I would normally do it myself, or I'm not even thinking I have time to do it myself. Would you give me a foot massage is what most of my clients do. Okay. And would you get the oil? And would you run and get the oil? Because women love to see a man run. The whole idea is there for her to feel that women live in kind of a sea of, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. So you want to break the pattern, a pattern interrupt. That's all it takes. It's just to sort of go, I'm not in a sea of have to do. I don't have to do everything. Because this is what I heard this from women all the time. Whenever they're stressed, I have to do so much. I feel overwhelmed. I have to do this. I have to do this. Now, they can also work on that, which is, I don't have to do that. I'm choosing to do that. Why am I doing that? Because I love to do this, or I care about this person. But they get into an automatic, I have to. And whenever you're into an I have to, you don't make estrogen. You make testosterone. Testosterone is what gets us up in the morning as men. We get a big surge of it. And if you haven't set goals for the next day, you won't have as much testosterone. It's like I always look at what my schedule is the day before. So I know I have to get up to do all that stuff. I have to. I can't just take a day off. Okay. So you want to tell your brain, these are the things I have to do tomorrow. So your brain's all set. And now you get up with motivation. And I noticed this because, and maybe you've noticed this as well with travel, is sometimes I get up early to get a flight, it's leaving to get the airport, get on the plane, so forth. I always feel so good when I have to be at the airport at a certain time. I wake up, my body has more energy and whatever. And then I started learning of, okay, focus. These are things I have to do. So my schedule is very clear the day in advance, because have to produces testosterone. Get to.
For men and women.
For men and women, yes. Have to is a testosterone producer.
Interesting.
And I enjoy doing, I get to do, I don't have to do, is either making some estrogen if there's support, or it makes progesterone. It's a key progesterone producer, actually, which is for women, it's a lot more complicated. For men, it's just up and down testosterone. For women, it's up estrogen till they get to the ovulation or the full moon, somewhere around that time. Then from ovulation to new moon to her period, they need to be making more progesterone, but they still need to be making estrogen, but not as much. So progesterone gets produced by something called social bonding, and where you're just bonding with people socially, not necessarily pair bonding. Pair bonding is you're my man, you're my wife, okay, that you're number one, as opposed to you're my friend or you're my group or my belonging. That's social bonding, and that's only for women who are more extroverted. If a woman's more introverted, then she needs to do self-bonding, which is me time. My daughter, who is more an introvert, she wrote a whole course for women called How to Get Your Me Time. Because this is women who busy doing things for other people. They don't have time for themselves, and they need that time. Because for those women, taking a hot bath, spending time in the garden, going for a walk in nature, doing something enjoyable for them, reading a book, these are all things you could do yourself, which are very progesterone producing. All suicidal tendencies in women happen almost all 5 days before their period, which is when they need the most progesterone. When we have PMS, PMS is this women's irritability, mood they don't like to talk about. It's reality. Every woman knows it. Yeah. PMS is going to be more dramatic only because they're not making enough progesterone. At that time, it's confusing because in the literature, they call that estrogen dominance, like estrogen's a bad thing. But no, you have to be making estrogen. It's just that you're not making enough progesterone. And you could actually be calling it testosterone dominance, because the only reason you don't make progesterone is because instead of doing what you like to do, you do what you have to do. And then you're making testosterone rather than progesterone. So a little, I know that's a lot of information, and
it's a lot, but it's so good, John. So tell me, what are you up to now?
All in this book here, Beyond Mars and Venus.
Beyond Mars and Venus is your newest book, and it's all in there.
Yeah.
I love it. So, how can people get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you?
Really, MarsVenus.com is a great website. Right away, we have a free class for you to get the basics. Then we have, for women, we have a class on sex, which I think every couple should watch. And then it becomes a way to have a conversation about sex and how a man in sex can raise the estrogen in a woman by doing these things. She's very different from us. And then there's a class for women only that I think couples should take together, but it's really for the woman to learn understanding men. And if there's women who are overwhelmed a lot, they can do the class called How to Get Your Me Time. So those are major classes that are very popular. We have things like how to bring out the best in a man. And then we have so many blogs that are like little workshops in themselves that are wonderful for people, well scripted and so forth.
And you partnered with your beautiful daughter, Lauren. And, I remember you talking about how it's bringing balance. You can speak to the woman from her perspective and speak to the men from your perspective. And I'm sure that's been a beautiful thing to be able to work with her.
I do like to talk one more hack, and we have a couple minutes, I think. Yeah. And that is weight loss. Okay. Weight loss is the most important hack for hormone balance. There's the behavioral things, but we have to realize that weight gain is a behavior as well. It's your behavior with food. When you have, particularly women, when you're depending on food for your happiness, this is called emotional eating. You're stressed, you want to eat something, right? You're depending on the food for your comfort. When you depend on food, and women who are overweight are depending on food more in their lives, even if it's a little bit of food, doesn't matter. It's just you're depending on food to make you feel good. Then what happens is your ability, that weight will produce estrogen. But when your estrogen levels don't go down, because your weight is producing estrogen, your estrogen levels don't go down, you don't feel the need for a man's love and affection in a healthy way. You become needy. What you're getting is not enough. So a lot of women who are overweight feel no need to be with a man. Their self-esteem is very low and so forth because they're not feeling a healthy need to be in relationship. Right. So they don't don't pursue having a relationship. So you want to get in touch with your healthy needs for love and support, as opposed to the feeling of I have to do it myself. When you take hormones, the same thing happens. If you take estrogen, then you're not feeling the need to make estrogen, because it's particularly the ways you make estrogen is depending on others. The ways you don't make estrogen is feeling I'll take care of myself. I'll do it all myself. Now remember, it's all part of a balance. And I mentioned for men, the belly fat is, and occasionally my belly fat starts getting up there. And then I just do, I do a special program, which it takes 2 weeks to lose 5 pounds, a month to lose 10 to 15 pounds. And everybody does it. And the reason I like to talk about it now is because it's the only peer-reviewed study at PubMed proving that the program works. It's a program of not dieting, because dieting lowers your metabolism. So yeah, you become skinny, and then when you start eating with a low metabolism, you blow up. That's what you see all these, ballet dancers, for example, who starve themselves and they become way overweight. And so diets really don't work in the long term. But what this program is to increase the food you eat and lose weight by increasing the amount of protein. The right food. You basically pretty much 4 meals a day of protein. You pack the protein into your body. You lose weight. And this is what the study shows. You lose weight and you gain muscle mass. So I have more muscle mass than just 2 weeks ago when I was doing this. And that will happen again and again. If you eat, travel, whatever, you're not going to have the best food. You're going to put on some weight. But isn't it a great thing to know you can come back and knock that 10 pounds off your belly in 2 weeks or a month? For me, it just took 2 weeks because I pack it. I really eat a lot of protein, but the study, I do more than the study says. But we have a program if people are interested in that. And they say, if they go to marsvenus.com and you go to contact us and say you're interested in our weight loss program, I have coaches that will coach you on how to do this. I also have, that's the coaches for weight loss. I also have relationship coaches, over 600. If you go to marsvenuscoaching.com, you can get relationship coaching, or you can take our 3-month coaching program for coaches or people that want to be coaches to bring in the ideas of Mars Venus into your coaching practice. It just gives you an extra tool to use. Or if you're not a coach and you want to become a coach, it's good in that way. You learn how to teach 5 different Mars Venus courses. And that helps bring clientele in. You can always market a course, putting up posters online. But then when you have people meet you, they go, I want coaching on this. So you can create a program with that. So we have a lot of different programs for people to research.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. John Gray. I appreciate you. You've always been full of contribution, and really, I think you're changing the world. Last question, and we'll wrap it up. What lasting legacy do you want to leave as an imprint on your life here?
Well, I feel like I've already made it with Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I guess the lasting imprint I want is for my grandchildren to grow up happy and fulfilled in their lives.
Oh, man, I love that. I appreciate you. I know you have a super tight schedule. Go to marsvenus.com, folks. We appreciate you, Dr. John. Thank you for being here. Have a great day. Thanks for your contribution.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Thank you much. Bye. All right. Man, what a great day with John. And I appreciate all you guys. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.